Hello everyone and welcome back. Today I'm going to be walking you through my very time-consuming, very frustrating at times, but ultimately very rewarding process of restoring my Hardtail mountain bike. For reference, the bike we'll be showing you today is a 2017 Giant Talon 3. So first, a little backstory. I got this bike approximately 2 years ago, summer of 2021. Rode it extremely hard. This thing has proven to be bomb-proof. When I got the bike, it was in decent condition. And before this restoration project, it was in terrible condition, not only because it had been ridden extremely hard and truthfully past what it should have been able to handle, but also because of one fatal flaw that I made over the winter of 2021. After the riding season, a very naive and less wise Tyler decided that I would put my bike inverted on bicycle hooks into the ceiling in my parents' garage for the winter. Unfortunately, when springtime came, I was met with a mess of brakes that pulled all the way to the bar without hardly engaging the brake calipers whatsoever, a rusted chain, but the thing that scared me the most was rusted stanchions on the fork, which was something that I hadn't dealt with before, and I wasn't entirely sure if it was salvageable. Now, it's not lost on me that bikes still may incur some signs of wear even when they're well kept after, even in ideal conditions, especially just due to the inherent lack of use and probably less routine maintenance. However, to a lesser degree, likely, than the extreme conditions that I found the bike in after the long winter in the garage. Since this incident, I would say, learned my lesson and have made a more conscious effort to look after my bikes more carefully. In my current living situation, I'm fortunate enough to have an insulated basement out of the elements, and I run a dehumidifier to prevent excessive moisture. Additionally, during longer periods of non-use, regardless what bike it is that we're talking about, I'm always sure to re-lubricate the chain to create that barrier for not only dust and debris that may be down here and kind of in the air, but also moisture. All right. Upon successfully disassembling the fork entirely, I degreased and cleaned all components to the best of my ability. For the rusty stanchions specifically, this entailed gently sanding the rusted areas with fine grit sandpaper with occasional rinses with rubbing alcohol, and finally smoothing the stanchions in the affected areas with even finer grit sandpaper. Quick note, when disassembling your bike, regardless what it may be, specifically in this instance a fork with a lot of components, I highly encourage that you create a system that allows you to, one, make sure you're not losing parts, so just to keep track of the components, also, two, to remember the order with which you took them apart so you avoid running into issues with sequencing during reassembly. It certainly doesn't have to be as involved as videotaping your every move, but find a system that works for you. For reassembly, I re-greased all necessary components, wiping off excess as I went. And before attaching the new and improved fork to the bike, just to find out that it isn't working properly, the compression and rebound felt great with no abnormal sounds, so off we went. I mentioned that prior to this transformation, the brake levers pulled all the way to the bar, and although I don't have an entire bleed kit, I was fortunately at least able to do a half bleed, if you will, by attaching the bleed cup to the brake lever, disturbing any air bubbles that may have been in the brake cables, and flushed those out. And the final thing before bath time was a quick clean of the brake calipers, which goes a long way in terms of braking performance. Alright, back to the work stand, and off comes the back wheel. Now we're going to remove the plastic ring that separates the cassette from the spokes on the back wheel. This admittedly was more for aesthetics. I do understand that they are there, I suppose, as a last line of defense so the chain doesn't go into the spokes. However, I'm a firm believer that this won't be a problem if those shifting components are dialed and indexed properly. Another pro tip when re-greasing the hub, or any components for that matter, grease works much better coming out of the tube if there isn't an obstruction. And now for the reveal. Now, for the final reveal, you may just say, that's the power of editing. Of course, the pictures afterwards look much better, better lighting, and with much greater clarity than the before pictures. And you're right. Unfortunately, I did not optimize the condition both pre and post transformation to make it as objective of a comparison as possible. A lot of the things I did for this bike were mechanical, things that you won't necessarily be able to perceive with your eye, but as soon as you get on the bike, they'll be much more perceptible. I ended up selling this bike on Facebook Marketplace for significantly less than I got it for. However, that said, despite having pushed it to and beyond its limits, I do think with all of my time and persistence and TLC that I gave this bike, it actually left me in as good, if not better condition than when it came to me. Again, I made this video to illustrate that even old neglected bikes can be restored to their former glory. If you have any questions, comments, or want to know anything more about the in-depth transformation process, leave it below and I'll be sure to get back to you. I'm really looking forward to diving into more projects in the future. In fact, right behind the camera, I have 2 mystery bikes that I'll be unveiling soon. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you next time.